Unreal Engine presents Buddhist imagery.
Asura's Wrath?
Yes, Asura. That famed Viking.
Well, I mean, you know, history reports of that time were sketchy and far between, so...
Yeah.
Vikings go friggin' everywhere, come on.
The legend of Asura, as he ascended to Valhalla, where apparently game developers live.
Sounds like the next God of War.
We're playing Devil's Third!
Yay!
Fuck the haters, this game is great, suck my dick.
To be fair, I only really know about this game by reputation, and it is a hell of a reputation.
It is. Most of it is undeserved, as I feel I'm gonna do my best to show, but yeah, it's the two of us. I'm Arclight Borealis, that's Kaboom Dragoon.
Hello.
We're doing an LP of Devil's Third, a game that, as noted, has a very notable reputation, but it is one that I think is largely undeserved because this game, while full of jank and a lot of unfortunate circumstances around its development, it is a hell of an action game, like, at its mechanical, like, fundamental core.
It's certainly something, from what I gather.
Yeah, and the reason for doing it now, especially 5 years later, is a couple of things. One, Wii U emulation has gone to a point where, like, I can run this game and have it go at frame rates that don't dip below 30, so that's what you're going to be seeing. Ooh. Though you'll also be seeing a unexpected downside in which this game on emulators, especially if you're running on an NVIDIA GPU, likes to indulge in a lot of graphical corruption when running for a set period of time, but I avoid most of that. But the other thing is that I am doing this on the mode which I feel the game was always meant to be played, which is Score Attack. Score Attack, I feel, is the thing that basically gives you the incentive that most people that were reviewing or playing this game on launch didn't get, which was, like, the incentive to actually take advantage of what this game does well with its mechanics. And, like, I guess as one final note, I guess a bit different for me, just doing a little shout out before the start of this, a shout out to a channel known as Iconoclast575, or however, I forget the numbers, but he's also the other reason why I decided to, like, stick with this game for doing Score Attack, because he actually did a Score Attack run of this game years ago, and I'll be constantly bringing that up because with the exception of one chapter, I actually break past all of his scores, and I'll be breaking down exactly how and why.
You show off.
Yeah. Speaking of show off, there will also still be the regular, like, cutscenes and whatever, because, you know, this game's got some dumb shit that is worth laughing at. Like, part of that is like still the same as, like, what its reputation is.
This game is cool.
But fuck crazy, more like. Anyway, let's get on with it. Our story begins in the outskirts of Las Vegas, as all good video game stories do.
Range 2 kilometers.
They see us. 3 hostiles with RPGs.
We can hit them from the other side of the world.
And then run around with 50-year-old Soviet weapons? Why do they even bother?
Really big fans of CSI?
Air-conditioned trailer in Vegas.
So this opening cutscene kind of highlights a point that Itagaki kind of went into during, like, a promotional trailer that was like 10 minutes long for this game. He basically describes it as that no matter how fantastical or over the top, like, your, like, product or, like, story is, you have to have, like, at least some concept, however light it is, in there to, like, provide a jumping in point for people to believe the rest of your scenario. And that jumping in point is, what would happen if all satellites orbiting the planet were to just blow up?
Oh yeah, that's a pretty solid concept.
Yeah.
I mean, the collateral damage from falling debris would be immense just to begin with.
Yeah, but even bigger thing right now, especially in our digital age, is no more electronics.
Whoopsie doodle.
Yeah, it's like, we all know about nukes going off in orbit causes an EMP effect. The Kessler syndrome is basically the same thing. And that would wreak absolute hell on prisons like Guantanamo.
I don't know why, but the idea of this starting off in Gitmo that's just hilarious.
Oh yeah, I mean, just look at this.
Especially considering it seems to be like equal parts Zion from The Matrix and the hotel from John Wick.
But now here he is, the man himself. Perfect bald man made of liquor and tattoos, Ivan the Terrible.
Agent 47 is super badass.
His amazing drum solo for you all, fueled by his rage and trauma in his past life as a terrorist. These were gifts that Chaos Arcade used for his original LP, just to, like, forego any kind of regular description of the game. Just going, no, fuck you, this is Devil's Third.
Who knew Guantanamo Bay had such an awesome sound system? Even if it does look like it's made of buttholes.
Yeah.
I don't do prison riots.
I feel like Ivan's situation in this case is like the one exception to how the prison system, like, treats its inmates.
Especially
like, I feel this
Guantanamo.
is the actual way that they should go about trying to rehabilitate criminals instead of just treating them like dirt that'll kill each other off.
There's a really over-the-top manga called Baki the Grappler, which got an adaptation. And, like, most of the really super violent criminals are treated exactly like this. Just in the hopes that they won't go out and, like, murder rampage, which they inevitably do.
Yeah, it's like it's the hardened criminal version of hacker gets caught and then gets hired by the FBI so that they can do the hacker shit for them.
Yeah. They're on the honor system, except the honor system involves lots of drum kits.
Yeah.
Dude, don't look like bullshit to me.
So we're gonna get right into the thick of the core of gameplay in Devil's Third. Beating up inmates with our fists, including long-range jump attacks and slide kicks, and all manner of crazy stuff. We also get a whole lot of points by doing this because you get points for different types of kills, and hand-to-hand melee kills give you 600 a kill. And half a minute in, we now get into, I'm going to call it the glue that holds all our mechanics together, and that is Enbaku, the power of our glowing tattoos.
This is a
This moves really fast, so I'm trying to cover all the basics that go on here.
Wait, help! Ah!
But to put simply what Enbaku is before getting into the core mechanics that it affects, Enbaku makes you invincible. It also refills like all your health upon activation, makes you slightly faster, does more damage, and the bigger part from that is that every time you deal damage or kill an enemy, it adds more energy to like your Enbaku timer. So it's like sustaining a combo in that sense. And that's key to... Oh yeah, and also the other thing that it does specific to score attack mode is that it doubles the point values on all types of kills. So our 600 points hand-to-hand kills now count as 1200. So that is key to doing well in this game on score attack, is to like find the optimal places to trigger Enbaku and sustain it for as long as possible.
The bastard's out. God damn it, blow the basement and bury him alive.
World-class voice acting, everyone.
Yeah, that's someone else that they just use a pitch shifter on him, isn't it?
Maybe, I don't know. I like to think that was just one of the few like English people that they had at the offices in Valhalla, and just like, you could do this, right? I mean, we got all these other professional actors we have for these characters, but we forgot to get one for Molotov because he's only here for this chapter. Like, we're not sticking around in Guantanamo for too long.
The old mid-90s Capcom idea of, fuck, whoever's English will get them.
Yeah. Or more like Sega, like arcade Sega specifically, because I'm pretty because like that's even worse than what I think even like, well, Resi 1 notwithstanding, but all the other like classic RE games were like had a bit more class to them than say House of the Dead 2.
Well, that's low-hanging fruit right there.
Yeah. So we have a pipe. We can obviously like hit people with it in close range, but we can also throw our pipe.
I feel like Mad World was a big influence on them, whether they realized it or not.
Well, like the thing with this that makes me really like it is how, So, this game was made by former members of Team Ninja. Like I mentioned Itagaki, but him and like several high-level people that worked on Ninja Gaiden 2 had left the company after they finished that game. And their work on this is pretty evident, although while it does not have the like level of like combos that Ninja Gaiden 2 had, it definitely has like the brutality of the melee combat in spades. And
Ivan could definitely stand to jiggle a hell of a lot more.
Yeah, and like that constant jumping attack you see is like part of the melee repertoire. Like it and throwing your weapons are like they are attacks that you can do when you hold the left trigger, like you would normally use for like aiming your gun, and then like you either press light attack to do the jump attack, or you press heavy attack to throw a melee weapon, which obviously you do not have access to if you're just using your fists.
For a second there, I thought one of those guys had an RPG. I was like, what the hell is he going to do with that in close contact?
I mean, they do that all the time in Ninja Gaiden. It wouldn't be surprising.
Fair point.
Yeah. So yeah, we have a shotgun and like and an assault rifle. I forgot to mention at the beginning that with score attack you actually get to choose your loadout, which is a very significant difference compared to the main game, because when you're at the mercy of what the game gives you normally at the start, it kind of limits your options for getting good points off the bat. Also, we can pick up hats and score attack.
Yes, game redeemed.
Yeah. Best part too is that there's like multiple hats and masks per chapter, although I don't know where all of them are. But this one's still pretty good.
Well, now I'm fucking sold on the game.
You still get to see a whole lot more, and they're all different for each chapter.
Yes! Games are just getting better and better.
Yeah. I mean, also doing slide attacks with a shotgun for a one-hit kill is also pretty great, you know?
That was something that no game has done since Fear, and they could stand to bring it back.
It was like, Vanquish did it, and it did it to like the most ludicrous end degree ever because it was a rocket slide. RE6 also had it, though it was also a lot shorter and weighted, because, you know, that game was also very weighted in how it did things.
And it was RE6, so...
Yeah. Admittedly, I think you can make a case for Devil's Third being like an RE6 situation where, like, yes, there's a lot of things about it that are jank and bad. Like, this campaign, I would say, like, is obviously, like, not a sterling example of great shooter campaign design. But it's clearly a case like RE6 where, like, no one understood its core mechanics at the start. The only main difference, I feel, is that in comparison between those two, even understanding how RE6 plays, I still don't like it nearly as much as this. So this coming room is another situation where it's good to trigger in Baku, but you're about to see what I was talking about with the graphical corruption on emulators. I could not really avoid this because this was the only chapter in the game which I was able to do all in one take.
All the disco mode.
Yeah, like all the other missions that you're going to see me go through, there are going to be obvious cutoff points that I'm going to like either transition to with like fade outs or use like a cutscene to mask. But this I could not avoid because I was on such a good run with this after like a few failed attempts. Also nice mid-air air shot, headshot, that's pretty good.
Yeah, the auto-aim seems pretty generous in the game.
It is, and like I technically have it on by default, and I feel it's better for it. Because this is like a Wii U game and it's played with a controller, and like I've actually tried using mouse and keyboard controls, like trying to map the gamepad options to this, and it does not translate the analog stick movement with the mouse well. But that's fine because the way, like, I feel like it would be a bit more awkward trying to translate this game's full controls to mouse and keyboard on the basis that you have the face buttons dedicated to light and heavy attacks like it's a traditional third-person action game, but you also have the left trigger, right trigger stuff that has become synonymous with, like, shooters on consoles since Call of Duty. And, like, it's a mix that I think works really well, and funny enough, it's the same mix that was used for, like, the later Ninja Gaiden games. Like Sigma 2 onward, that's how you use the bow. You use the left trigger to aim and right to fire.
It's been a hell of a long time since I last played them. But, yeah, it's pretty much ubiquitous, like, as the industry standard these days.
Yeah. And this boss is not very exciting. Like, it's basically you just shooting at a wall. And you also get to see those sparks kind of flying through it. That's the best way you go about it, sustaining in Baku. Like, you use rapid-fire weapons, every hit just adds more and more to your timer. So that's how I was able to, like, keep it going that long. But that's it. I know I didn't really cover that many of, like, the mechanics in a very, like, slow, deliberate pace, but that's what the next mission is for. This is just kind of to show how insane you can go about this mission when you go through it really quickly, because it's one of the short ones.
It seems like the way to make the game as good as possible is to play it as little as possible or as quickly as possible.
The real way to go about it is to, like, go as buck wild aggressive as possible, which is like, it's the thing Ninja Gaiden 2 was all about. Like, it's a method of design that I feel not many people really appreciate, just because if I'm gonna go back on, like, my calling out like popular trends or whatnot, I guess that just kind of shows, like, why people are so frothing for, like, Souls games and Souls-like, because they think anything with RPG mechanics or anything that lets them play defensively or deliberately is, like, so in-depth, but it's like, nah, that's boring.
I used to...
Going unga-bunga on everyone in 60 seconds is, like, way more enjoyable.
I used to work for a gaming website, and the number of times I had to describe a game as, it's an action game with RPG mechanics, and it adds nothing to it.
Yeah.
Murdered my soul.
So here's our score. We got all these... We also get all these different perks that you kept seeing. And, like, the penalty actually does detract points from you. Like, it detracts, I think, like, 1,000 every time you die. And that's one thing you'll definitely will not be seeing. You will be seeing that penalty score at 0 every time. No matter how many times I had to, like... reload a checkpoint or back up an entire save just to get a segment right. It only gets crazier from here, folks.